नमस्कार, आज के सेशन में आपका स्वागत है. In this session, the topic is plastic waste treatment and management. This topic is of the course MEV 0 and 5, that is Environmental Pollution Control and Management of MSc Environmental Science and MA in Environmental Studies program. So learners, in this session, we will be discussing about what is plastic waste, how does it emerge, what are the various sources, and most importantly, what can be done for its effective treatment and management. So learners, first of all, let us understand what is plastic. This is a term which we use very commonly. We all are aware about the plastic and the plastic articles. But what is plastic scientifically, that we must also understand. So plastics are basically long-sized polymers. And as you know, polymer means an assemblage of various monomers. So when there is an interlinking of the monomers, which are predominantly comprising of carbon, hydrogen, also in certain cases nitrogen, and chlorine, fluorine, oxygen, other things are there, but most importantly carbon and hydrogen monomers, when joined together, they form the links, and those links are known as polymers. So these polymers are actually the plastics. Now, from where do we obtain plastics is that they are basically fossil fuel based. When there is the crude oil, when there is a various refinement of the crude oil is taking place, at that time by the residues the polymerization is done, and in this way the plastics are formed. So whatever the plastic, mostly what we see all around, basically they are either petroleum based, that is they are made up of the fossil fuels, for example petroleum, natural gas, also coal, or they may be bio-based. So here we are talking mostly about the plastics which are petroleum based, which we are getting from the fossil fuels. Same fossil fuels which create problem when they burn, they are the source of the greenhouse gases. So you must understand that fossil fuels are also one of the important source of plastics. So whatever the fossil fuels which are being used, around 5% of the oil is used for the production of the plastics, of the various kinds of plastics. Another thing which we must understand is that from how we have started using the plastics, from where does it come, how did it first come into the being. So it was actually during the World War II, when the other elements like copper, iron, they were becoming very costly, or they were being used for various other purposes during the World War II. This plastic got a huge demand at that time, and it was seen that its properties are such that it can be used for various purposes. We all know why do we use so much of plastic, because they are cheap, they can be molded into any form, they are very flexible, and they also waterproof. They are there in various colors, various shapes, various sizes. So these are the various positive points of plastics, and therefore we have become so used to using these plastics that nowadays it becomes very difficult to imagine the world without plastics. So as you can see on the screen, there are certain important points about the plastics, that it is a synthetic polymer. It is made from fossil fuels. It was invented in 1885. It is moldable, lightweight, transparent, strong and cheap. But it is not biodegradable. This is the most important demerit, disadvantage and pitfall of the plastic, is that it does not disintegrate. It stays forever. It is always there. Once it is being produced, yes, it is possible that it is converted into any other shape. It may be molded very easily. But what is the point is the concern is that it is not biodegradable. Then we must also understand, but these are some of the basic things, learners, which you must understand, that are all the plastics same? The plastic chair, the plastic pen, the plastic plates which you're having, the plastics which are being used in the medicines, the plastics which are there in the window frames, are they all same? No. There are two kinds of plastics basically. One is the thermoplastic, as you can see on the screen, and another one is thermosetting plastics. So what is the basic difference? See, thermoplastics are those plastics which when you heat them, so when you heat them, it is very easy to change their shape, they melt easily, and then they can be molded into any other form. So that means they have a very low melting point. They can be easily done with the application of high temperatures and pressures. They can change their form and can be easily converted. So examples of these type of plastics are, which are very commonly found around us, like polyethylene, polypropylene, polyvinyl chloride, polystyrene. And another thing, learners, you must note here that for every plastic we use the word poly before it. So poly means polymer. So it clearly explains what we understood just now, that it is a polymer of the various consequent monomers. Okay. So this is all about so whatever the plastics which we are seeing all around, they are mostly thermoplastic, which can be molded easily with the application of high temperatures. Another kind of plastic is thermosetting plastics. Now these type of plastics are very rigid. Once you give them a form, once you give them a particular shape, it is very difficult or nearly impossible to change that particular structure of theirs. Even upon heating, they remain as such. They do not change their shape or the form. Now, examples of these type of plastics are Becketite, melamine. These are the different articles which are there available in the market. Of course, various products are manufactured out of it, ceramic, melamine. These also contain plastic in it, but they are very rigid. So basically the petroleum based, this is all we are discussing about, the petroleum based plastics which have their origin from the fossil fuels, are either thermoplast or they may be thermosetting. Further, if you go deep into more understanding about the plastic and its various types, then we should also understand about its various categories. And these categories of the plastics have been made and have been designated on the basis of their recyclability. See, for every plastic maybe bottle or box or any other article, if you look carefully, there is always a number written below it. This number explains, that is the symbol which explains that how far that particular product or the article is recyclable. For example, on the screen you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 symbols which have been given, and there is a short name, there is a scientific name, and where you are using it. Now, if you see, first is PET, that is polyethylene terephthalate. This is most recyclable type of plastic. And where do you find it? What it is made, what it is used to make the plastic bottles which you find in the market, or you call it the PET bottles. These type of plastics are basically used, which are very easily recyclable. Then second category is high density polyethylene. You see the shampoo bottles, this type of plastic, is very thick. A kind of the plastic you can easily observe that it is very thick, and it is found in the plastic containers, the plastic boxes, the drums of the plastics, and even in the cosmetic and toiletries you will find the shampoo bottles which are very thick. They are made up of the high density polyethylene, and it is also very easily recyclable. And when we go for plastic waste management, the major emphasis is on the collection of 1 and 2 kind of the plastics. Then third, we have the PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, and this polyvinyl chloride you will find in the electric cables, in the window frames. This type of plastic is denoted by number 3, and it is partially recyclable. Not all, but yes, some part of it may be recyclable. Depends upon the chemical structure, depends upon the form where it is being used. Number 4 is low density polyethylene. Low density polyethylene is the simple the carry bags which are there in the market. Films are there, transparent covers which we find in the sweet boxes, invitation cards. These are low density, very thin type of the plastic, and it is not recommended to be used. This cannot be recycled. Then we have the polypropylene, in which the use is being seen in the medicine bottles, packaging films, and also you can find the tomato ketchups and all the different sauces where you find the plastics, eatables particularly, you will find this type of the plastic being used extensively. The chairs also are made up of polypropylene. Disposable cutlery also in some extent is made up of polypropylene. This is also partially recyclable but not fully. Then under number 6 we have polystyrene, which is the most dangerous one. All the disposable cups, plates, spoons, forks which we use, they are made up of polystyrene, which is very toxic, and it is not recommended to be used at all, and mostly we should avoid using this type of plastic, because first of all it is very toxic, and secondly it is made up of in such a way that it is not recyclable. So it poses threat to the environment and also to the human health. Another category is denoted by 7, and it is like others. All other type of plastic come into this category. For example, we have the single-use plastics of various types will come into it. Nylon, Teflon, melamine, all the plastics and their different forms, you can say, they come into this category, and they are also not recyclable and must be avoided. So we have seen that plastic is not as simple as it appears to be, and there are various categories, there are varied uses, and there are various physical and chemical properties of the plastics, and therefore we say that plastic is not fantastic. Why? Because it creates various types of pollution. One thing is that it mixes with other types of the pollutant. It mixes with the household waste, it mixes with the municipal waste, sanitary waste, and therefore it poses threat to the animals, soil, etc. It is an increased burden at the landfills, because around 4 million tons of plastic is generated every year in our country. And if you look into the present usage, it is going to be high in the coming times also. If we are not able to manage it properly, if we are not able to find a suitable solution, then ultimately this plastic ends up at the landfills, which are nothing but the heaps of the mountains of trash generated by the human beings, and the major part of it is the plastics. And it also leads to naturally, if it is there on the land, it may also enter into the water bodies, and around 5 million tons of the whole world's plastic enter into the water bodies through rivers, and ultimately it enters into the oceans, and therefore it is a threat. That studies have indicated that by 2030 there will be more plastic in the Pacific Ocean than the fishes. So it is a serious concern, because it enters into the body of the marine organisms, it kills them, and also it is a threat to the aquatic biodiversity, aquatic ecosystems of like oceans and seas and etc. If you look into the urban areas also, you find that the plastic is clogging the drains. It is there in the rivers and everywhere, And it has, in many cases, this is the example where it has been found that it leads to urban flooding when it clogs the drains and impedes the natural flow of the water in case of rainfalls. Apart from it, plastic is very dangerous to our health also, because you must be knowing about the microplastics. They are there in the air, they are there in the water, they are there in the soil, and therefore we must think about proper management and treatment of the plastic waste. So what is plastic waste management? How do we manage it? What should we do? Because learners, by this time we have seen that yes, there are so many sources and it is affecting us in many different ways. But then what should be done? We cannot simply phase out plastic in a day. We cannot simply stop using the plastic unless and until we have some suitable alternative which is very feasible, which is very cheap for us to use. First of all, let us understand what is the meaning of plastic waste management. So, when you are going for scientific waste management of plastic, it involves steps such as proper collection, transportation, processing, recycling or disposal of plastic materials. Collection is very important. As we have seen that most of the plastic bottles, plastic bags and plastic items are just thrown away like that. We are not collecting. Of the total plastic waste which is being generated, only 30% of it is managed and 50% of it is collected, but then only 30% of that is managed. So rest all it is going in a unscientific, improper manner. So the primary goal is to minimize the negative impact on the environment and the economy. So what should be done? Most importantly, we have seen just now that the recyclability of plastic, particularly PET and HDPE, is very high. So why not devise a mechanism that those plastic articles and those plastic substances which can be recycled, why not put a system where we are able to collect it, segregate it and send it to the recycling centers. When it comes to recycling of the plastics, it involves mechanical recycling, biological recycling and chemical recycling. That also you must understand that there are different methods of recycling of plastics. Either it can be done with the help of machines. For example, the different plastic bottles, we crush it, we grind it and then we heat it and it converts into liquid form and then we are able to make some other article out of it. That is the physical method or physical recycling method or the mechanical recycling method. We may also use the biological agents. With the help of that, we can go for biological recycling, or it can be chemical recycling. For example, there are methods like pulverization, pelletization. Also, in many cases, it has been now experiments are on to see that how we can use the plastic for the generation of the electricity. How energy can be generated. Because, learners, from where the plastic is coming? It is coming from the fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, the prime source of energy. We are using petroleum in the industry, we are using it in the automobile sector, and that is, if it is used in the production of the plastic, then plastics can be burnt again to generate the electricity. So this process is known as energy recovery. So there must also be some mechanism to see that how we are able to use the plastic for the generation of the energy. It is a process of converting non-recyclable waste like plastic, which cannot be recycled. So we have seen in the example, there are certain plastics which we cannot recycle. Polystyrene we cannot recycle, polypropylene we cannot recycle, polyvinyl chloride we cannot recycle to a great extent. So why not use this type of plastic and use it for the generation of the electricity, energy production with the help of methods like combustion, gasification, pyrolyzation, anaerobic digestion and landfills gas recovery. So these type of methods can be used, and we can think about using energy, taking energy from the plastics. Likewise, fuel also we can use, and we can also think about the plastic waste management rules. These rules were in place since long. The government always makes suitable regulatory framework and puts in rules and regulations which allow the manufacturers, the users to see that how the plastic waste is handled. So in 2011, the plastic waste management and rules were notified, and from 2011 to 2024, there have been several amendments, several changes which have been done, and which also guide us to so as to how we are able to tackle the problem of the plastic waste. For example, the size of the plastic bags. Now it has been raised that below 120 microns, the plastic bags, the polythene bags should be banned. So there were amendments in 2018, there were amendments in 2021, there were amendments in 2022, because in July 2022, you must be knowing that there are certain single-use plastics which have been banned in our country, and these includes the plastics which are used in the earbuds, which are used in the balloons, sticks, candy sticks, or the flags. Also, there is a restriction on the use of the polystyrene for decoration purposes, which we cannot use. The disposable cutlery like plates and spoons and forks, this has been totally banned. And the plastic sheet which is used in the invitation cards and in the sweet boxes, you must have noticed this thing, that it is there, and this has been banned. So from July 2022 onwards, there should be no use of the single use plastics and in these things. And another thing, learners, we must understand is that 50% of the plastics whatever we are using is single use plastic, which is used only once and discarded. The examples are many. There are many examples where we find the use of single use plastic which has become so convenient. So this has been banned. And recently, Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2024 have come, and these rules have given a kind of a change in the terms. Like, for example, biodegradable. The term biodegradable is generally means what? That which can be easily degraded by the microorganisms. But now the new rules which have been amended, it says that the word biodegradable will be used only when it is ensured that there will be no production of the microplastics. So this has been changed. And also there's in the market there is a lot of production of the compostable plastics, bioplastics. For any manufacturer or any seller to say that the plastic is compostable, it has to have a certificate from the Central Pollution Control Board. Unless and until there is a certification, you cannot claim that whatever you are selling and using as a compostable plastic is valid. So these are some of the changes which have been done. So at the end, while concluding this session, we must understand that there's a long way from where we have come to the use of the plastics, where it was like a miracle substance at one point of time in the history, but today we find ourselves being drowned in the plastic all around us. From morning to, if we look at our routine, if we look at all around, we find the use of plastic very extensively, and we do not have any proper mechanism to see that how we are able to solve this problem of the plastic. So in this session, we have learnt about the various types of plastics, what are the various categories of plastics, what threats does it have, and what measures can be taken so as to treat it properly, so as to manage it properly, so that we are not threatening the survival of ourselves, other living organisms, and altogether the environment. Thank you so much.